the oldest question in the human mind. Since the dawn of civilization, humans have lifted their eyes to the sky and asked, "Why are we here?" Long before science, before cities, before even written language, our ancestors gathered around fires, staring at the stars, and told stories. Stories about gods who created the world, spirits who lived in rivers, demons that haunted the night. These myths weren't random. They were patterns, stories that emerged everywhere, from ancient Egypt to Greece, from the Amazon to the Arctic tundra. So the question we face today is not why myths exist, but why humans seem wired to believe in them. Why do we, logical, intelligent, technological creatures, still find ourselves drawn to gods, legends, and cosmic stories in every era of history? What does it say about the human mind that no matter how advanced we become, myth never dies? The birth of the mythic mind. Let's go back, far back, before temples and kings, before writing and wheels. Imagine a small band of hunter-gatherers 50,000 years ago. Life was raw, dangerous, and unpredictable. Thunder roared without warning. Illness struck without explanation. Death came suddenly. In such a world, the human mind did something remarkable. It patterned chaos. Psychologists call this agent detection, the brain's instinct to assume that behind every movement, there's an intentional force. When the wind rustles the grass, you assume it might be a predator. When lightning strikes, you imagine an angry spirit. This instinct, once useful for survival, becomes the seed of belief. The moment early humans started saying, "Something caused this," mythology was born. To live, we had to explain. To explain, we had to imagine. And from imagination came gods. Myths as maps of the mind. Modern neuroscience reveals that myths aren't just stories, they're mental blueprints. Carl Jung, the great psychologist, called them archetypes, symbols that rise from the collective unconscious, the shared psychological patterns all humans possess. Every myth, from Zeus to Odin, from Shiva to Yahweh, mirrors something deep in us, our fears, our hopes, our struggles. Think about it. The hero's journey, a story told in every culture, mirrors our personal search for purpose. The flood myth, from Noah to Gilgamesh, reflects our fear of destruction and rebirth. The underworld, from Hades to hell, is our metaphor for confronting our darkest emotions. Myths, in this sense, are not about the world out there. They're about the world in here. They help us navigate the chaos of being human. They give shape to the unseen forces of our psychology. And that's why even today we retell them, through movies, novels, and pop culture. The Marvel universe? It's just Olympus with better CGI. The fear of the unknown. One of the most powerful roots of belief is fear. Humans crave control, but the universe offers none. Storms destroy crops, disease strikes suddenly, death takes loved ones without reason. When logic fails, faith fills the gap. Sigmund Freud called religion a collective neurosis, a defense mechanism against helplessness. Gods became our cosmic parents, powerful, protective, yet unpredictable. When we suffer, we pray. When we lose control, we surrender to something greater. It's comforting to believe there's order in chaos, that pain has purpose, that life is not random. Even atheists, when faced with tragedy, often catch themselves whispering, "Why me?" It's the same ancient impulse, searching for meaning where none may exist. And in that search, myth becomes medicine, easing the unbearable uncertainty of existence. The social power of belief. But mythology is not just psychological, it's social, a glue that holds tribes, nations, and empires together. When humans started living in larger groups, belief systems became tools of unity. Think about it. If you and I both believe the same gods watch us, we're less likely to betray each other. Shared myth, shared morality. Anthropologists call this the big God hypothesis. The idea is simple. Moralizing gods evolved because they encouraged cooperation. A tribe that believes the gods are watching behaves better and survives longer. Religion, in this view, is not just faith, it's social technology. From the temples of Egypt to the cathedrals of Europe, myth gave us civilization itself. It told us who we were, what was sacred, and what was forbidden. Every empire, Rome, China, the Aztecs, built its power on stories that explained why their rule was divine. In short, myth organized chaos not only in the mind, but in society. Gods as mirrors of ourselves. Every god we've ever created reflects human traits. Zeus with his pride and lust, Shiva with his destruction and renewal, the Abrahamic God with his justice and mercy. We build gods in our image, not the other way around. But why? Because gods are symbols of our highest ideals and our deepest flaws. When we imagine perfection, we project it upward. When we confront our shadow, we cast it into myth. Joseph Campbell, the mythologist, said, "Myths are public dreams. Dreams are private myths." Our myths show us what we secretly believe about ourselves and what we hope to become. That's why the gods evolve. The violent gods of ancient times gave way to compassionate ones. The vengeful deities of the past turned into moral teachers. As humanity matured, so did our gods. The divine, in a way, is a mirror, reflecting the evolution of the human soul. Science, skepticism, and the death of myth. Fast forward to the modern age. Science has mapped the stars, decoded DNA, and explained thunder. The old gods seem silent. Does that mean myth is dead? Not at all. It has simply changed form. Today's myths wear new clothes. The superhero film replaces the ancient epic. The scientist replaces the priest. Technology replaces magic. We may not pray to Zeus anymore, but we still worship power, fame, and progress. We still build narratives around good and evil, destiny and redemption. Even in a secular age, the mythic structure remains. Because it's not about gods, it's about meaning. Science explains how the world works. Myth explains why it matters. And without that why, we feel hollow. That's why even the most rational societies still cling to symbols. National flags, anthems, ideologies, all mythic in nature. We never stopped believing. We just changed the language. The neuroscience of belief. Modern neuroscience gives us another clue. When people pray or meditate, their brains show activity in the prefrontal cortex, linked to focus and self-control, and reduced activity in the parietal lobes, linked to the sense of self. In other words, spiritual experience literally dissolves the ego. The feeling of oneness with God is a neurological shift, the mind's attempt to transcend itself. Humans crave transcendence, moments when the small I disappears into something vast. Whether through religion, art, or nature, this need is deeply wired. It's not just belief, it's biology. Our brains evolved to experience awe, and awe at its core is myth made real. The sense that there is something greater than us worth surrendering to. The eternal return of meaning. So what does this all mean? Why do humans, from ancient shamans to modern scientists, keep inventing myths and gods? Because without them, life feels unbearable. We are storytelling creatures trapped in an indifferent universe. Myth gives that universe a pulse, a reason, a structure, a story. Myths don't need to be literally true to be psychologically real. They teach courage, humility, purpose. They bind communities. They help us face death. The real question, then, isn't whether gods exist, but whether we can live well without them. The God within. The truth may be this. Humans didn't invent gods because they were ignorant. We invented them because we are imaginative, because the same mind that creates science also creates stories. Both are attempts to understand the unknown. Maybe myths aren't lies. Maybe they're metaphors, bridges between what we can know and what we must feel. As Carl Jung once said, man cannot stand a meaningless life. And so, we fill the void with gods, symbols, and stories, not out of weakness, but out of the creative necessity of being human. Myth, in the end, is not about belief. It's about belonging to a story larger than ourselves. And perhaps that story is what keeps us sane in a universe that says nothing at all. If you found this exploration insightful, give this video a like, share it with a friend, and subscribe to Timeless Questions channel for more deep dives into philosophy, history, and human nature. Because the questions may be ancient, but the wisdom is timeless.